Good evening, welcome to North West Tonight with Annabelle Tiffin. Our top story. The family of Cumbrian soldier Jaisley Beck, who took her own life after a campaign of sexual harassment against her, has called for a criminal investigation into the case.
Jaisley had been sexually assaulted and sexually harassed. This needs to be re-looked at and action needs to be taken.
The government says it is planning to introduce an independent Armed Forces Commissioner to examine similar cases in the future. Also tonight, refugees were evicted from Manchester's homeless tent city by the council, but then set up over the road. Merseyside's AI boost as a US tech giant confirms its multi-million-pound investment in the Liverpool City region. Viva Las Vegas! Wigan and Warrington arrive in Sin City for Super League's ultimate away fixture. Making the ordinary extraordinary, we talked to photographer Martin Parr about the new film celebrating his work.
And after a showery and chilly day today, our weather is set to settle down a little bit more as we head towards the start of meteorological spring. A full forecast coming up soon.
The family of 19-year-old soldier Jaisley Beck from Oxenbeck in Cumbria, who took her own life after being sexually assaulted, have called for a police investigation to be reopened into the attack. Last week, a coroner ruled that the Army's poor handling of the teenager's complaint had contributed to her death. The Army has formally apologised to her family. John Kay has been speaking to Jaisley's mum and sister.
This is the hat that was on the picture where she was smiling in a service uniform. It comes with us when we go to remembrance service, and any time I need a little moment in Jaisley's bedroom.
Do you ever think, I wish she'd never joined up?
Always, always.
She was just so outgoing, she was determined. Anything that Jaisley had in mind, she was going to get.
She says, Mum, I'm exactly what the Army needs, a strong, independent woman.
You were worried about guns and bombs and battles, but in the end, the threat would come from inside the Army.
From Army itself.
Just 3 years after her passing out parade, Jaisley took her own life. An inquest heard that she'd been sexually assaulted by one superior and was sent thousands of unwanted messages by another. She tried to complain, but last week a coroner said the way the Army handled those complaints partly contributed to her death.
The battery sergeant major had sexually assaulted Jaisley. She told us exactly what had happened, and she said, Mum, I said to him, get off me, sir. And I said, you still called him sir? And she says, Mum, you have to. She said, you have to show respect. No matter what, you have to show respect. And even whilst he was assaulting her, she still addressed him as sir. She said, they've told me, Mum, that he is, the battery sergeant, he is married, he does have children, and Jaisley, please take into consideration, if you do complain, this could ruin his career.
The Army have apologised, and they say they've made changes. Are you satisfied with the apology they've made and the changes that they've already introduced?
No. The Army cannot mark its own homework. That has to be the biggest change.
The perpetrator was known by the person that she had reported to, and so it got brushed under the carpet. So in order to prevent that happening again, we're pushing for an independent body to handle just the more serious complaints, not all, just the ones such as sexual assault, sexual harassment, so the soldiers feel that they will be listened to.
You're calling for the police to have a full criminal investigation going forward.
That's correct, yes.
Why is that so important to you?
Because I don't want to leave no stone unturned. This happened, and this was delivered by the coroner, that Jaisley had been sexually assaulted and sexually harassed. So this needs to be re-looked at and action needs to be taken.
Jaisley Beck's mum ending John Kay's report there. Well, responding to that interview, the Defence Secretary John Healey said that the government was determined to root out sexual harassment in the armed forces and would be legislating to bring in an independent commissioner to examine cases like Jaisley's in the future. Well, some breaking news coming in this evening. Greater Manchester Police say they found what they believe to be the body of Rania Aliad, the Salford woman murdered by her husband in a so-called honour killing more than 10 years ago. Let's cross to our newsroom now. Steve Saul is there. What more can you tell us, Steve?
Yes, Annabelle, the mother of three, Rania Aliad from Cheetham Hill, disappeared back in 2013 after complaining to police about domestic abuse. Her ex-husband, Ahmed Al-Khatib, was convicted of her murder, but the 25-year-old's remains have never been found. Now, Mr Al-Khatib claimed that he killed her in self-defence after an evil spirit entered her, but denied murder. He was jailed for a minimum of 20 years. Now, he said he buried her between trees off the A19 in Thirsk in North Yorkshire. Now, over the past decade, several searches of that area have been carried out without success. But on Monday, Greater Manchester Police said they were carrying out a new search after receiving new information. Now, officers say that while no formal identification has yet taken place, they strongly suspect the remains those of Rania. Her family have been informed of the latest developments. Rania's son, Yazan, said the discovery has come as a surprise, and he says that being able to find a final resting place for his mother is all they've wanted for the past 11 years. Meanwhile, at the scene, further forensic searches will be carried out over the next few days.
Steve, thanks very much. Next tonight, a community of homeless people who were living in tents was cleared from Manchester's city centre early this morning. It came after a court ruling gave the council the right to remove dozens of tents from outside the town hall. But as Kevin Fitzpatrick reports, they didn't move very far.
A dawn operation to move tents which have been in St Peter's Square for around a year. At times the site's been home to nearly 40 people, with most of them being refugees who've been given leave to remain in the UK but have nowhere to go. The council said it's become a revolving door, with new people arriving as soon as residents were helped into accommodation. By mid-morning the tents were gone, but perhaps not as far as might have been hoped. The council says those who were living there were offered temporary accommodation if they qualified, about 20 people in total, and the others were offered help and advice. But it does appear that the vast majority of people who were in those tents have merely lifted their tent up and relocated them just a couple of hundred yards away on Lower Moseley Street at the side of the Midland Hotel. The court order was specific to St Peter's Square, so only allowed the council to clear the tents from there. One opposition councillor doesn't see the point.
I can understand why Manchester Council don't want a bunch of tents to be seen in one of the most prominent parts of the city centre, but actually just moving it literally hundreds of yards away, still in the city centre, still in a visible location, is no solution at all.
The City Council said the move to clear the site was reasonable and proportionate. It said such encampments anywhere in the city are not in anyone's best interest and are not a suitable place from which to access support. Last month I spoke to some of the men who've been camping here at a charity hub set up to help them. Salah, who's from Sudan, says the city will remain a popular destination.
Some of them, after they get the refugee status from other cities, after that they come to the Manchester because they think they have better opportunities in Manchester.
The council told us it will continue to engage with the people in the tents and monitor the situation. Kevin Fitzpatrick, BBC North West Tonight, Manchester.
A man has been charged with causing the death of a 3-year-old girl after an accident involving a van and a tram in Manchester. Louisa Palmisano from Burnley died on Saturday. She was hit by a van which ended up on the pavement. It had been in a crash with a tram near the city's art gallery. Raoul Raymond from Manchester is due in court later. Survivors and relatives of those who died in the Summerland fire disaster on the Isle of Man say they still intend to take legal action to get the original inquest verdict of misadventure overturned. Lawyers for the Justice for Summerland group initially wrote to the island's Attorney General in May last year, but in the House of Keys this week, Chief Minister Alfred Cannon said a formal application has not yet been received. 50 people lost their lives when the entertainment complex on Douglas Promenade caught fire in August 1973. A man has been arrested in connection with a dog attack in Warrington, which left an 84-year-old with life-changing injuries. The dog, believed to be an XL bully, attacked him in the Dalham area on Monday evening. He remains in a critical condition in hospital. The 30-year-old has been arrested on suspicion of being in possession of a dog dangerously out of control, causing serious injury. A 29-year-old woman has been released on conditional bail. A former housemaster at a Cheshire school has admitted to being a paedophile at his trial for child sexual offences. 8-year-old Richard Burrows also explained why he spent 27 years on the run in Thailand instead of facing justice in 1997. Phil Cunliffe was at Chester Crown Court, and earlier I asked him what had happened today.
Well, wearing a grey prison tracksuit and walking with the aid of a stick, Richard Burrows took the stand here today to answer questions, first of all, by the defence on behalf of his accusers about sexual allegations. Now, these relate to his time at Danesford Approved School in Congleton between 1969 and 1971, and later his time as a scout leader in the West Midlands. Some of the evidence put to him by Mr Phil Clemmo was hearsay from complainants who have died. On every occasion, however, he said that he either couldn't remember the boys or denied each of their stories, saying that's not true. Richard Burrows, who's 80, was a housemaster at Danesford, which was a pastoral role. He says it's wrong, as the prosecution suggested, that he took the job because it was a chance to abuse vulnerable children. These included allegations of sexual activity with pupils while helping them build a boat or taking part in amateur radio. In all, Richard Burrows has denied 50 counts of sexual abuse. Whenever, though, it was alleged that he'd committed the more serious offence of rape, he said, no, that's degrading and disgusting. However, jurors have been told that he's previously admitted to 54 counts of sexual activity with boys, and when prosecution barrister Mark Connor suggested that that must mean you're a paedophile, he buckled and said, yes, if you say so. None of his alleged victims can be named for legal reasons, Annabelle.
And Phil Burrows was also asked about the years that he'd spent in Thailand.
Yeah, Richard Burrows was meant to actually come here to Chester to face a plea hearing in 1997 for child sex offences, but instead, as you say, he ran away to Thailand and lived under a false name. He was apprehended last year while trying to get back into the UK. When asked by the prosecution why he fled, he said, the number of charges weren't me, I hadn't done them. When asked, well, why not stand trial and be acquitted, he said, my brain wasn't working. He chose Thailand, he said, because he could go sailing, and he decided to come home after 27 years because he had run out of money. The trial here continues tomorrow.
That was Phil Cunliffe there speaking to me earlier. Now, an American tech giant has confirmed today that it'll create up to 1,000 new jobs at a new centre for artificial intelligence and computer software in Liverpool. The company is called Kyndryl, and it says one of the reasons it's investing in Merseyside is that important AI work is already taking place there. Well, our Merseyside reporter Andy Gill has been to one existing AI facility to find out what today's announcement means for the area.
What you want to do is kind of make some vaccine that targets these proteins and stops them.
Workers at the Hartree Centre in Daresbury near Runcorn study a 3D image of the spike on a COVID-19 virus. The government-funded centre helps public bodies and private businesses get the most out of AI and advanced computing. In this case, AI can suggest the most likely way the virus will mutate, which helps in the fight against the virus.
AI helps us develop vaccines much faster and cures much faster without having to explore a lot of different possibilities in the lab.
Here at Daresbury, they develop digital tools to help organisations with specific needs. Today's announcement by the American company Kyndryl is about a centre where companies will be able to buy off-the-shelf digital products to help them grow. For example, Kyndryl will be working more with the Liverpool-based online retailer Very to improve its website. The Metro Mayor says it's an important investment.
This is massively important because Liverpool City Region wants to position itself at the vanguard of AI and the AI revolution that will happen. And of course the UK wants as many jobs to come here.
Back in November, the Liverpool Combined Authority hosted a conference on the opportunities AI might bring. The boss at the Hartree Centre says Kyndrill's investment enhances the area's existing AI economy.
We've put in a lot of work as a region to working together, so we have our universities, our public sector institutes like the Hartree Centre, along with the local government and the national government working together to create that environment.
Should people be worried that AI is going to take their jobs away from them?
Not at all. I think people should be excited by the new types of jobs that will become available. I think we're going to always need a variety of skilled people in the workforce with a variety of different expertise.
The people at Hartree have also developed a virtual wind tunnel for testing drag on cars. Kyndrill's new AI centre won't be operating for another couple of years, and they haven't yet said where in the Liverpool area it'll be located. Andy Gill, BBC North West Tonight, Daresbury.
Let's move on to some sport now. And Wigan and Warrington aren't often confused with Las Vegas, but this weekend they just might be. An estimated 12,000, yes, 12,000 fans of the town's rugby league teams are heading out to Nevada for the away fixture to beat all away fixtures. It's all part of Super League's plans to bring the game to a whole new audience. The BBC's Adam Wilde is there.
It really does feel like the eyes of the rugby league world are focused on this corner of the Nevada desert this week. Las Vegas, the destination for what the sport of rugby league hopes could be a real watershed moment for the game. We're still several days away from that main event at the Allegiant Stadium, home of the Las Vegas Raiders, but already a palpable sense of excitement in and around the city.
They come to Las Vegas and they don't do things by halves, but you know, when you see the billboards that are, you know, the size of stadiums in themselves, and it's got, you know, the name of Wigan and Warrington and Super League on it, it's absolutely huge. 4 games in total, starting with that Super League tie. Warrington Wolves against Wigan Warriors. England's women taking on the Australian Jillaroos in a women's international. And when you throw in 2 really mouth-watering NRL games as well, it could be a huge moment, a huge event for the sport of rugby league.
We're kings of rugby and we're never going to stop.
It's estimated around 12,000 rugby league fans from across the northwest have been flying to the United States to support their local teams. Radio Manchester's Joe McGrath caught up with a few of them at Manchester Airport.
We've got every dream coming true. We've got our first team, and we will have, obviously, Sam Burgess there on the day, which will make a hell of a difference.
Very, very excited. It's been a real good, feel-good factor about it. It's been amazing.
I would have been here anyway, even if Wigan hadn't have been here.
Because it's massive for the sport, isn't it?
Just the icing on the cake.
Absolutely mad.
It's absolutely worldwide, isn't it?
It isn't the first time rugby league has been to Vegas. The success of last year's Australian NRL event has paved the way for Wigan and Warrington to make history at the Allegiant Stadium on Saturday.
This is the training camp where the teams have been put through their paces. One thing they're having to deal with is the weather. It is extremely hot. The other thing for Warrington Wolves is the will he, won't he saga of their head coach, Sam Burgess. He didn't travel with the Warrington Wolves team. His visa to get into America was initially rejected. That's going through an appeals process, and they do hope he will make it here in time for Saturday's game. I've just been speaking to the Warrington chief executive, who told me this could be the biggest game in English rugby league history. Excitement is certainly beginning to mount.
Yeah, I bet it is. And we'll have more from Vegas as we get nearer to Saturday's game. It's not a bad away fixture, is it? Moving on to football now, because the Liverpool manager Arne Slot and his assistant Spike Hulshoff have both been given 2 match touchline bans for their red cards against Everton. They were sent off after approaching the referee during the 2-2 draw in the Mersey derby. Both were fined, and both clubs have been fined for failing to control their players after scuffles on the pitch. Liverpool take on Newcastle tonight. Well, last night, Tranmere Rovers manager Nigel Adkins left the club after defeat to fellow strugglers Accrington Stanley, a result which had prompted chants from the crowd for him to go. He leaves with Rovers 2 points above the League Two relegation zone, while Stanley's win moves them 7 points clear. Ian Haslam was at Prenton Park for what proved to be a dramatic night.
There's only so long a manager can survive after large sections of the support calls for them to go. Roughly an hour and a half after these scenes, Tranmere's Nigel Adkins, seen here prior to kick-off, was gone. Before the match, concerns were evident. 10 years after Tranmere were relegated to the National League, fans fear it could happen again.
The manager's under a bit of pressure, Nigel Adkins. What do you think of him?
Well, I think he's in trouble, isn't he, really? This season's just been abysmal. It's been absolutely abysmal. We barely won a game. It's only because the two below us are so rubbish that we've stayed where we are.
I'm worried about the future of the club at the minute. I'm worried about if anyone want to take us over, given the current state of affairs.
Last year, the club hinted at talks with a consortium involving the American rapper A$AP Rocky, partner of singer Rihanna. Since then, he's been acquitted in a gun trial in Los Angeles, which in theory could accelerate a potential purchase. Chairman Mark Palios told us he still can't say much because of a non-disclosure agreement.
He's not going to prison. Is he going to Prenton Park?
I think we all hope so, because I think if he isn't, we're in trouble as a club.
Hopefully the takeover will go through, should project us into a different realm in terms of what we can do as a club.
It's not just Tranmere Rovers, it's all the clubs in the lower divisions that are struggling. If any club gets offered the chance for the takeover, let's grab their hand and go with the ride and enjoy it for now.
Life's not exactly been rosy for Accrington Stanley either lately, as they battle to prolong their 19-year stay in the EFL.
Well, it's 6 points in it. I think we have to win, take us further points away from, obviously, these.
We've played well, but we just haven't scored enough goals.
We're struggling a little bit. Things haven't just gone the way, but hopefully we've enough to get us by.
This then is a match of huge importance at the bottom of League Two, and let's face it, both these Northwest sides desperately need 3 points. The atmosphere here inside Prenton Park is, you won't be surprised to learn, just a little bit tense right now.
It was a game of few real chances, but Tranmere had one or two. But it was Accrington who got the game's quality to break down a resilient Stanley. Boos accompanied the full-time whistle. Joy, though, for John Doolan and Accrington.
It just looks, honestly, it just looks a lot better, doesn't it? I'm so delighted for everyone. The fans were outstanding from minute one. I was having palpitations on the side, my heart was like this, but I mean, every one of them are a gladiator.
You need to just stay on a level, and yeah, I'll obviously go home tonight and be happy that we got the 3 points, but looking forward to Saturday now against Harrogate, yeah.
But there'll be no Nigel Adkins in the Tranmere dugout against Port Vale. He failed to turn up for our interview, and late last night it was confirmed he'd left by mutual agreement, the chairman saying it will give the team the best chance in the remaining 13 games. Ian Haslam, BBC North West Tonight.
And now just take a look at some of these fantastic photos. You might even see yourself in one of them. They are the work of photographer Martin Parr. He has been described as a poet of the ordinary, whose pictures help us see the familiar in a completely different way. His most famous body of work is The Last Resort, a controversial collection of photos of families on holiday in New Brighton back in the 1980s. Well, now he is being celebrated in a new documentary film, I Am Martin Parr. He's been talking to Izzy Fry.
Martin's very unassuming and brilliantly ordinary, but he's one of the greatest photographers of all time.
Martin Parr, a photographer known for his sometimes controversial work in the Northwest. Despite being from Surrey, though, Martin's always had an affinity to the region.
I went to college in Manchester and I was very happy to go there. And in fact, it's the only college that would accept me because I only got one A-level. But I immediately took to the town, took to the city, and I come from Surrey, so being in Manchester with its hugeness and its friendliness, I absolutely loved it. My main thing is to photograph things candidly. I like to see how people unravel, trying to catch the moment.
One of his best-known pieces, New Brighton, The Last Resort, captures the best and worst days out at the seaside.
I mean, it's a very run-down resort at the time, so there's litter everywhere. It was really scruffy, but still, of course, people went there for their day trip You know, it's just part of the tradition in Liverpool that you went to New Brighton. What I wanted to do really was to contrast people having a good day out in front of this shabby backdrop. And so that was an amazing project for me, and that's still, to this very day, my best known body of work. And for this film, we went back not only to Hebden Bridge, but to New Brighton.
Hi there, may I do a quick portrait?
Back in the 70s, a serious photographer worked in black and white.
When I moved to colour, it was very controversial. I don't think anyone had ever photographed like that before.
Should we have a picture together?
Yeah.
Right, who's taking... Oh.
I don't know. I'm not going to take it.
You can catch a viewing of the film in cinemas across the Northwest, including the Light Cinema in New Brighton.
I mean, what better place to show the film but in New Brighton, where, you know, a lot of the footage of me walking around there talking to people was shot, so it made perfect sense.
Isabel Fry, BBC Northwest Tonight.
Brilliant. And that showing in New Brighton is on March the 12th, if you want to go and have a look at it. Abby, looks beautiful and spring-like.
Yes.
Are we seeing some more spring-like weather coming?
We are, actually, over the next few days. I mean, it's been pretty chilly today, hasn't it? Although our weather watches have still been out in full force. Thank you to Bella Vista for sending this photo in of some broken clouds and sunshine as well. A little bit more cloud, but some nice crocuses as well. Thank you to Colt for sending this photo in Churchtown. And if you would like to send a weather picture in to us here at Northwest Tonight, all the details on the screen behind me on social media, or indeed become one of our loyal weather watchers. They keep the pictures coming, and they sent some gorgeous rainbow pictures in from this afternoon, because we did see some showers, but tomorrow is looking mostly dry, a mix of variable clouds, some sunny spells, and actually a ridge of high pressure moving in. That will settle our weather down over the next few days, and staying mostly dry and settled through the weekend too, perhaps just a little bit more cloud around on Saturday. Looking at our radar from earlier today, we have seen a big scattering of showers. They've been fairly frequent. They are still piling in off the Irish Sea, but they will ease overnight tonight. So things are looking drier in the early hours of tomorrow morning. A lot of the cloud will clear away across western parts, but further east we will hang on to a bit more cloud, perhaps some showers over the Pennines to start the day tomorrow. Quite a chilly start to the day. Temperatures in the low single figures. There'll be a touch of ground frost, I think, first thing tomorrow morning, but it will be a dry and settled day. Plenty of sunshine. It may well look a little more spring-like, but I think it will feel quite chilly out and about. These will be our temperatures, 8 or 9 degrees Celsius. So the air mass is seeing a few more blues over the next few days, but it does look as though as we head towards the second half of the weekend and into the first half of next week, things will turn a little bit milder. Saturday, of course, marks the start of meteorological spring. Friday at the moment, looking to be a dry day. There'll be plenty of sunshine, a bit of mist and fog to start. Once that lifts, though, the afternoon is looking dry and bright. Plenty of sunshine, a little more cloud on Saturday, but the weekend's looking mostly dry and about.
Lovely. Paul has emailed in and says in Chorley, he says it's bouncing with rain.
Yes, those showers.
Yeah, not so nice. It's good to have weather tonight.
Yes, I come in handy.
Yeah, we should just say Kay is absolutely fine. It was just there was a problem with the tape. But anyway, she'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for watching.
Good night.